Hey friends, it's another perfect morning. What can I say? Pretty hard to beat. And I had something show up this morning as I was doing my yoga practice, my physical practice, and it's basically, it was a reminder of a principle that I learned from an osteopath years and years and years ago. And it's something that comes back to me every once in a while because, you know, I've got this wrist injury that's still kind of, it's definitely healing, it's definitely getting better, but being a pianist and having a real kind of like hypersensitivity to this mechanism, my hand, my wrist, my arm, all of that is pretty heftily online for me as far as my perception in that area and what I require of that area in my daily life. So I'm kind of in and out from feeling like, okay, I've turned a corner, we're good, to then something will happen and I'll go, whoa, but are we really good? Like, is this going to go all the way away? Is there going to be lingering tension? Is there going to be lingering pain? You know, I just kind of get, it's an emotional ride to be on this healing journey because it's such a sensitive part of my body, and it's a part of my body that it's really kind of key to a lot of the work I do. So anyway, there's a principle in osteopathy that when you experience a strain, you know, you'd think that, like, if I, for example, pulled my wrist this way, let's say, which is kind of what happened, it sort of cranked that way, and this area felt like it got strained or over lengthened, awkwardly lengthened, something kind of weird. I'd never really done this to my wrist before, but that's what happened. But if that happens, then the first response is to bring it back and to kind of like allow the area to retract back in the opposite direction of the strain. That's just, our intuition does that. We do that instantaneously as soon as the injury happens, oftentimes. But in osteopathy, that's not the treatment. The treatment is actually something they call exacerbation of the strain, which means in healing it, I'm going to go and actually lean into the strain again, and then gently allow the area to return to kind of more neutral. I'm going to exacerbate the strain and then bring it, and then the area itself will pull itself back. And it's similar to the principle of like heals like, which is one of the principles of homeopathy, where instead of, like, for example, if you have excess heat in the body, instead of applying cold, we would apply a microdose of heat, because that creates a response in the body that deals with the heat, that actually alleviates the heat. It's a kind of, I mean, it's not quite a fully good analogy there, but it's a similar kind of thing in that instead of going against the injury that we've received, we go with the injury that we've received. And even the physical, mechanical treatment of an injury is approached in that way. We go with the injury. We go in the direction the injury has taken us rather than against. And I find that both fascinating, and having used that principle I spent a fair amount of time around an osteopath for a couple of years. He did some fantastic work on my body, alleviated all kinds of deep tension, And it was remarkable to see that principle in operation. And since then, it's always stuck with me. It's something I've always maintained in my own practice. Kind of, I've felt like I have been able to occasionally use that principle. I'm not a trained osteopath, but I've been able to kind of apply that principle both to the physical domain and like to my physical body, and also as a principle of what our emotional response is to an injury, right? Because there's something that you'd hope, I mean, it might not be obvious, but it seems kind of clear to me that an injury is taking us somewhere, right? I mean, here we are in this giant cosmos. I'm sometimes amazed by how small our human perspective can get. Not in a kind of like, I don't mean that in a judgmental way, but if you think about the cosmos, you think about where we are on the surface of this planet, spinning through space in a solar system that's so large our mind can really only imagine it in theory. And a galaxy that our minds simply pale, at least it's staggering to try and conceive, in a universe. Like, that's the context in which we're living. That's the possibility. That's the scope of possibility. That's the scope of our reality, but probably not the scope of our perception, right? The scope of my perception revolves around my life and my family and my friends and my geographical location and circumstances, and I'm sometimes amazed that that's the case. I'm amazed that I can block out so much of the universe and just see my own life. There's got to be some evolutionary reason why we do it that way, undoubtedly because we'd all just be overwhelmed and would get eaten by tigers if we were just constantly in touch with the vastness of the universe. And I think we're getting to a place where human consciousness really kind of is expanding. But all that is to say, an injury is happening in that context. An injury is happening in the context of a vast, vast reality. And our soul, our consciousness, for whatever reason, needs to experience this pain or this disability for a while in order to cultivate some kind of understanding, some kind of new feeling, new awareness, whatever it is. But I truly believe that that's what an injury is. An injury is teaching us. An injury is giving us a gift. So then all of a sudden it starts to really make sense from a deep healing point of view to go with the injury, not because we're trying to make it worse. That's not the goal of osteopathy, and it's not the effect that I've experienced, but because the injury knows where it's trying to take us, and following the injury. Again, the osteopathic clinical expression for this is exacerbation of the strain. That's the way that we link up the deeper trajectory of an injury with the deeper trajectory of our body, mind, soul, spirit, of our consciousness. Because of course, anybody who's in pain wants the pain to stop, right? If we have our arm that got pulled one way too far, we want to go back the other way. We want to take it in the opposite direction. We want to fix the problem, but we think in this way as though it's kind of like assuming that we know what we're looking at when we're looking at like our tiny little context, but we're missing the vast context. We're missing the universal just the cosmic scope of what's really happening. What's really, where is this pain, where is this emotional experience, this psychological experience really trying to take us from a much larger context, getting beyond our circumstances and our relationships and our little life. There may be a doorway trying to open. And so it's amazing to me that this can kind of manifest on the physical level. You know, I'm feeling myself in my yoga practice now. My wrist has gotten, it still hurts. There's still a strain there, no doubt. But I'm able to kind of do a little bit of leaning into the direction that it went when it got hurt. And I feel it even, and it does, that causes pain. But it causes pain of the kind that's like an increasing awareness. It doesn't feel like I'm hurting it or damaging it. It feels like I'm bringing presence to it. It's like it's, you know, I don't know if you've ever had this experience of pain, but pain as like an awakening. Pain as an awakening of an area, of a dimension, of an emotion. And so I'm just sitting with that and working with that in my mind, because I feel like it's the way to go. I feel like it's what I'm being called to do. It's what my body's asking me to do, and it's also potentially, you know, I may have the chance to align with something big, to really move my system forward in a way, and my life forward. So I'll keep you posted, but following the injury and that exacerbation of the strain is really something I'm holding on. I'm evoking that, or I'm bringing it to my awareness, to sort of hold in my awareness as I go through this process. But I would offer it to anybody who's going through something, you know, to try and notice, where is this taking you? Where is this pulling us? Can we lean into that? Can we receive that gift? Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.